Have you ever felt like something inside you is changing, but you can't explain what it is? You wake up the same, you go through your day the same, you talk to the same people, but deep down, something feels different. There's a quiet tension inside you, a kind of pressure, like your old life no longer fits, but the new one hasn't fully arrived yet. And it's confusing, because from the outside nothing has changed, but on the inside everything is shifting. You feel more sensitive, more aware, sometimes even more lost than before, and you start to wonder, am I falling apart or am I finally waking up? Because the truth is, right before your life transforms into something better, it often feels like everything is breaking. Not because you're failing, but because something within you is trying to evolve. And most people never recognize this moment. They run from it. They distract themselves. They go back to what feels safe. But you didn't. You stayed. You felt it. You faced it. And that's why you're here. Because what you're experiencing right now might not be the end of something. It might be the beginning of the best stage of your life. But how do you know for sure? There are signs, quiet signs, deep signs, painful signs, signs that most people ignore because they don't understand them. Until now. Section 1, you feel lost, but not the same way anymore. There was a time when feeling lost meant fear. It meant panic, confusion, a desperate need to find answers. But now you still feel lost. But it's different. It's quieter, almost like you're not searching for the same things anymore. The goals that once excited you feel empty. The path you once followed feels choosier, unfamiliar, and it scares you because you don't know what comes next. But here's what nobody tells you. Feeling lost like this is not a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that your old identity is dissolving. And when that happens, you can't go back. You start to see things differently. The things that once gave you meaning no longer do. The people you once connected with feel distant, and suddenly you're standing between two worlds. The one you've outgrown, and the one you haven't stepped into yet. And that space, it feels lonely. But it's also where transformation begins. Because before you can become someone new, you have to let go of who you were. And that process is never comfortable. So the question is, if you no longer recognize your old self, who are you becoming? Section 2. You start seeing through illusions. There's a moment in your life when things stop making sense the way they used to. You start noticing patterns in people, in relationships, in yourself. You see how often people wear masks, how conversations are filled with things left unsaid, how emotions are hidden behind forced smiles, and it changes you, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You begin to question everything. Why do I say yes when I mean no? Why do I seek approval from people who don't even understand me? Why do I keep repeating the same painful patterns? And the answers, they're not easy because they lead you inward, into your shadow, the part of you you've ignored, the part you've hidden, the part you've been taught to reject, your fears, your insecurities, your anger, your hidden desires. And for a while, it feels overwhelming because facing your shadow means facing truths about yourself that you didn't want to admit. But here's the turning point. The moment you stop running from it, you begin to understand yourself. And when you understand yourself, you stop being controlled by what you don't see. And that changes everything. But it raises a deeper question. If you are no longer blinded by illusions, what truth are you finally ready to face? Section 3. You feel more alone than ever before. Loneliness. Not the kind where you have no one around you, but the kind where, even in a room full of people, you feel disconnected. Like you don't belong to the same conversations anymore. Like you're watching life from the outside. And it hurts. Because humans are not meant to feel this way. We crave connection, understanding, belonging. But during transformation, something strange happens. You outgrow people, not because they're bad, not because you're better, but because you're changing and they're not on the same path. Your thoughts become deeper, your questions become heavier, your awareness becomes sharper, and suddenly the things that once connected you no longer do. So you pull away. Or maybe you don't pull away at all. You just realize they can't meet you where you are anymore. And that realization is painful, but necessary, because this loneliness, it's not punishment, it's preparation. It creates space, space for new connections, new understanding, a new version of yourself. But before that happens, you have to sit with the silence. And the real question is, can you be alone with yourself without trying to escape? Section 4. Your old coping mechanisms stop working. There was a time when you knew how to numb the pain, distractions, habits, people, anything to avoid feeling what was inside you. And it worked for a while, but now it doesn't. You try to escape and it feels empty. You try to distract yourself and it doesn't last. Because something inside you refuses to be ignored anymore. Your pain is louder now, your thoughts are clearer, and your old ways of coping feel like illusions. This is where many people go back. They double down on distractions. They avoid the discomfort. But if you're experiencing this, you didn't go back, you stayed. You felt it. And that's when something shifts. You begin to understand that the pain isn't the enemy. It's a message, a signal that something inside you needs attention, needs healing, needs to be seen. And for the first time, you stop running. But that leads to something even deeper. If you can no longer escape yourself, what is your pain trying to show you? Section 5. You start choosing truth over comfort. This is where things become real, because now you see things clearly and you have a choice. You can go back to comfort, to illusions, to pretending everything is fine, or you can choose truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you relationships, opportunities, versions of your life you once held on to. And you start making different decisions. You say no when you used to say yes. You walk away when you used to stay. You speak honestly even when your voice shakes. And it feels scary because truth comes with consequences, but it also comes with something else: freedom. For the first time, you're not living based on fear or approval or expectations. You're living based on alignment, and that changes how you see everything. But it also asks something of you. If you are no longer willing to live a lie, are you ready to fully accept the truth of who you are? Section 6. You feel a quiet inner strength growing. It's subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but it's there, a quiet strength. Not aggressive, but steady. You start trusting yourself more, not because you have all the answers, but because you've survived the questions. You've faced your fears. You've sat with your pain. You've walked through uncertainty. And something inside you has changed. You don't react the same way anymore. You don't chase the same things. You don't break as easily. And people might not notice it right away, but you do, because you feel it. in the way you think, in the way you respond, in the way you carry yourself. It's not confidence in the traditional sense. It's deeper than that. It's self-trust. And that is one of the strongest foundations you can build. But it leads to one final realization. If you are no longer the person you used to be, what kind of life are you ready to create now? Section 7. You begin to feel peace without a reason. This is the sign most people don't expect. Because after all the pain, the confusion, the loneliness, you expect something dramatic, a breakthrough, a moment of clarity, a sudden transformation. But instead, you feel something quiet, peace. Not all the time, not perfectly, but in moments, small moments, where you're just okay, without needing anything to change, without needing validation, without needing to escape. And it feels unfamiliar because you're not used to it. You're used to chaos, to overthinking, to emotional storms. But now there's space. And in that space, you begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Yourself, not the version shaped by fear or expectations or past wounds, but the real you. And it's not perfect, but it's honest. And that honesty brings peace. But it also brings one final question. If you no longer need to become someone else, can you finally allow yourself to be who you are? Maybe what you've been feeling was never a breakdown. Maybe it was a breakthrough, not loud, not obvious, but deep, the kind that changes you from the inside out. Because the best stage of your life doesn't begin when everything around you becomes perfect. It begins when you stop running from yourself, when you face your shadow, when you accept your pain. And you choose truth over comfort. That's when everything shifts, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, real. And maybe the part of yourself you've been afraid of, the part you've been hiding, the part you've been trying to fix, is not broken. It's waiting, waiting to be understood, waiting to be accepted, waiting to be integrated. Because healing doesn't happen when you become someone new. It happens the moment you stop rejecting who you've always been. So if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling alone, if everything inside you feels like it's changing, don't run. Stay. Because this might be the moment your real life begins. And the only question left is, are you ready to step into it?